time, which I'm not sure what that is for this committee, but we're going to end when we're done. Could the clerk take the roll, please?
Batra,
Present.
Ortiz,
Present.
Kamei, Torres, and Foley.
Here.
Thank you.
Great. The first item is a review of the work plan. And I just wanted to make a couple of comments about the work plan. There are 3 items that we are dropping from the work plan, but we're just dropping them for the remainder of this calendar year, but they will be picked up in next year. The new work plan will come to rules, I think, this week? This week, next week? Okay, next week. And on it, the citywide residential anti-displacement will be presented in January. The next item, anti-displacement tenant preference, will be in February. And then the third item, the soft story seismic, will be presented in March on our calendars. So I just wanted to make that note. With that, I will open it up to the public for comment.
We have no public comment.
Great. Can I get a motion to approve the work plan?
Motion to approve the
Second.
work plan.
Thank you. If there's no discussion, let's vote.
And that passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. The first, we have nothing on consent. The first item, and actually both of these items are items that will be presented by our auditor, Joe Royce. The first is a report from Team San Jose and Convention and Visitors Annual Performance Audit. This is something that comes to us on a regular basis, and I know the team from Team San Jose is here in case we have any questions. But Joe, take it over. Please.
So good afternoon, Joe Royce, City Auditor. I'm here with Michelle Malari from my office. We're here to present the audit of Team San Jose's performance for fiscal year 22-23. Since 2004, the San Jose McHenry Convention Center and several other city-owned facilities have been operated on the city's behalf by Team San Jose Incorporated. Additionally, since 2009, Team San Jose has operated the San Jose Convention and Visitors Bureau. The City Auditor's Office, under the terms of the management agreements between the city and Team San Jose, is required to perform an annual performance audit to determine whether and how well Team San Jose met agreed-upon performance targets that are the basis for an incentive payment from the city. A quick note, while Team San Jose activities and performance have improved since fiscal year 2019-20, performance for most measures has not returned to pre-pandemic levels. Team San Jose reported that the city had not recovered to its former levels of business and international travel, and reductions to committable hotel room inventory had a negative effect on booked hotel room nights. Despite these challenges, Team San Jose met its weighted incentive fee scores and Convention Visitors Bureau performance targets in fiscal year 22-23. Team San Jose exceeded its target gross operating results, booked over 111,000 hotel room nights, had an estimated economic impact of $52 million, held 502 days of events at its cultural facilities, and received 100% satisfaction ratings on its customer service surveys. As a result, Team San Jose met its weighted incentive fee target and qualified for the incentive fee of $250,000. We do not have any recommendations in this report. We also don't have a management response. Any feedback we received during the course of the audit has been incorporated into the body of the report. We'd like to thank Team San Jose, the Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs, and the Budget Office for their time, information, insight, and cooperation during the audit process. I ask you to accept the report and cross-reference to the December 12th meeting of the full City Council. I'm happy to answer any questions, and representatives from Team San Jose are here as well to answer questions, as well as staff from the Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address this item?
We have no public comment.
Great, thank you. Then turning to my colleagues, I will note that this item will be cross-referenced to the council meeting on December 12th, as actually the next audit item will be. So there will be 2 opportunities to ask your questions if you don't get them in today. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much for the report. I always find these reports really helpful. And I guess my question really is for someone from Team San Jose. I kind of looked at some of the actuals and the targets over the period of time. So I just wanted to better understand how targets are arrived at. It seems to me that if your target is low, and when you look at over the years what it had been, it's so low that it was even lower than the previous year. So I just want to understand how that kind of comes together.
Mayor. Ben Roschke, Vice President of Research and Strategic Development with Team San Jose. The targets are arrived at in negotiation with the Office of Economic Development, and we do it during the budget process. Due to the timing of the budget process, at times we're doing these targets well in advance of the end of the current fiscal year. And so at times, if performance improves substantially over the course of the final months, you may have a situation where a target is lower than the previous fiscal year's actuals, just because, especially post-COVID, we've seen business conditions changing so rapidly. Forecasting has been hard at best, and so as we see more, I anticipate as we see more steady business climate and more regular conditions, we're going to see less of this kind of craziness with variances between targets and performance.
So I guess, I also went back to last year's audit as well. And when I look at, if you go to page 13 of the audit, and you look at, just picking out one item, on Exhibit 3, when we're looking at weight of incentive fee scores and all of that, and how everything gets sort of moved over, your actuals, they weren't even, what was targeted for this year, as looked at last year's actuals, were so far apart that, to me, it just seems like, yes, we're trying to recover and all of that, and obviously you did well, so congratulations. But I also think that to say, well, your target was so much lower than even what your actuals were, to me seems like too much of a disparity. So as you're moving forward, just looking at, some of your targets and some of your actuals, I just don't understand why the gap is so big, right? And I understand that you have to do this prior to, but if you have information over a period of time, then it seems to me that you would want to stretch a little bit, and not be so under that obviously you would reach it because you already reached it last year. So to me, it seems like it doesn't make, I guess I don't understand it. So I think that as you move forward, it would be great. I know things have not totally recovered, and we're sort of in that mode, but a stretch goal is not a bad goal.
No, thank you.
And I guess Carrie has some additional information.
Hi, good afternoon. Carrie Adams Hapner, Assistant Director of the Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs. Thank you, Vice Mayor. We hear you, and I just want to reiterate that the city very much does ask 4 stretch goals from Team San Jose when we're developing these performance targets every year. In some cases, there is an estimate based on the conditions of the time. So for example, you're probably looking at one of the targets is the theater occupancy. And the reason why you're seeing such a change in what was estimated and what was targeted is essentially because of the access to the civic auditorium. It wasn't made available due to construction on site, so there was a lower target. However, you're seeing it go up quite a bit because the other arts groups that are performing in other theaters are doing quite well. So I just wanted, that's an example of why you're seeing a change, right? But I do want to reiterate that we are seeing a change in the business climate, and because of the loss of hotel rooms, there is going to be some competing priorities in terms of what types of business can be attracted by Team San Jose. So I don't know, Ben, if you want to elaborate on that at all, but that's one thing I just want the committee to be aware of.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, just to Carrie's point, for the theater occupancy in particular, we had a lower target because there was anticipated construction of a project at Parkside, the former site of Parkside Hall, that was going to greatly disrupt operations of the Civic. Obviously, those business conditions changed over the course of the year, and the disruption was not at the level that we anticipated, so that was a large cause for that discrepancy there. But we, I think when you look at this fiscal year, every one of our targets is much more well aligned. We've had much more steady business conditions going into this year, and so we're anticipating that to continue.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I guess, when I'm looking at just from 2021 to the current 22-23, what I see here is that on page 13, it shows that the target 2 years ago had been 25,000 for gross operating results, and the actual was 2.6 million. And then this year, the target was 642,999, and the actual was 4.7. So to me, it just seems it's not a little bit, it's a lot. And so, just not understanding how could it be so much. So I guess the message really is, this is the information today, but as you move forward, it would be nice to see something that would be close to, or a little bit of a stretch goal in terms of how do you get to some of even the actuals. So just something that I find, and of course, I'm new at this, so it's something that as you trend, that trend should be at least your actuals, because if you put yourself in such a low position and you're getting an incentive, to me it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I don't know if you have any.
Hi, my name is Ihab Sabri. I'm the CFO of Team San Jose. I just want to clarify the GOP portion. We had some extraordinary transactions basically took place on that fiscal year. It's not going to repeat in the following years. Part of that was the cancel fees. We had some cancel fees, about $1.6 million. And that happens because, again, of people are not really trusting coming to events and conventions. So that's not going to happen for the upcoming fiscal year. Also, we had some tax credit that going back to 2022 during that time. And that was substantial amount of money as well. Again, it's not coming to hit us for the next year as well. So each year, what's happening after the pandemic, we did not have really certain target that we're going to hit because of those credits, and cancel fees, $1.6 million. That's a huge amount. And we don't anticipate, hopefully we don't see that again because we're normalizing day by day. And that's why you see some huge discrepancies, but that was not meant to be like that. So again, these are extraordinary situation, and we don't anticipate this to happen in the future years.
Thank you. I appreciate that and appreciate knowing a little bit more, so
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Torres.
Hello. No, don't go too far. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for the presentation, Joe. This is always, it's always eye-popping, right? Reading these audits, and Team San Jose has come a long way, right? I think we all know why Team San Jose was created back, when I was a youngster, but we were struggling, right? And here we are, yet again, trying to recover from COVID-19, and Team San Jose and other organizations have stepped up to the plate to create vibrancy in downtown San Jose, right? And when we think about vibrancy in downtown San Jose, right, we think of the California Theater, right? We think of the Civic Auditorium. We think of the Convention Center. And so, I, in particular, do like how we're in the upswing, which is extremely important, right? The customer satisfaction is also super important, right? Folks want to utilize Team San Jose and utilize our buildings. And so that's extremely important. But with that, right, we need still continue, or we are still hoping that we are growing, right? That we're growing vibrancy and bringing folks back into downtown San Jose, right? And there, of course, there's the external factors, right? Folks think that, downtown San Jose is not safe, and et cetera, which is completely incorrect, as we all know. But with that, I don't know if anybody can speak on the issue of the concerts that bring our Mexican or Latin community into downtown San Jose. I know that we've been hearing from some of the folks who organize these bailes, as they're called in Spanish, they're called bailes, right? And I know that the last baile, right, the headliner was Peso Pluma. For all those folks who are not, up to date with Peso Pluma, he's a rising star in the Mexican / Latin community when it comes to these type of bailes, right? And there was some growing pains. So Ben, I don't know if you can discuss on what happened, what went wrong, how we can make sure that these Mexican bailes continue to come to downtown San Jose. And I say that for numerous reasons. When we've always had a large Mexican American population here in the city of San Jose, and as a baby, as a kid, I clearly remember my family getting ready to come and see Los Tigres del Norte or Banda Recodo, or all these Mexican acts that still perform at a convention center, right, for these bailes. So can you please explain on what occurred there, and if we're ready to make sure that these Mexican bailes come back and we're doing it safely?
Yeah, absolutely, council member. We actually had.
Oh, speak into the mic, sorry.
Oh, sorry. We actually had another dance just this last month, which was attended by 12,200 people. We just got the final attendance figures today. So after the last dance, there were a combination of factors, from security hired by the promoter through a lot of alcohol being sold by street vendors while people were waiting in line to get into the building. So we did a thorough operational review, opened up a lot more access points for this one, had new mags that allowed ingress much faster to clear the illegal alcohol sales outside of the building much quicker. And operationally, it was much more smooth. So we're evaluating and continuing to work with promoters to evaluate how we can make sure we have a safe and effective concert plan moving forward.
Great, and if you can rely on us, right? I do know that when I met with SJPD, they pressed the panic button because I think there was over 25,000 people trying to get into our convention center to see Peso Pluma, and I get it. The folks who hired him way before he got big, right? But by the time he came to San Jose, he was already huge, right? So, 25,000 people were trying to get into the convention center, and they pushed the panic button. And I think it's just, you just make sure that you're working with us, with our departments, just to make sure that everyone, feels safe, because safety is the most important, right? We want to have our convention center staff feel safe, right? So yeah, well, thank you for that, by the way. And I do wish that we continue to see these Mexican bailes come through our convention center, because folks from all over the world come to these bailes. They fill up our hotel rooms, right? Families from Central Valley, Fresno, you name it, they come to these bailes, right? It's significant for the Mexican Latin community in the city of San Jose.
Yes, appreciate it, Councilmember.
And with that, I move to approve item D1 by cross-referencing it to the December 12th City Council meeting.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I do have some questions, so don't go anywhere. And I appreciate your comments, because I'm not familiar with 12,000 or 22,000 people coming in for a dance. That's awesome. But handling the crowd control and all of that must have been a real difficulty. But I want to go back to the targets and the incentives, and particularly the gross operating results. And I just want to echo what the Vice Mayor said regarding the target versus actual. And I heard your comment about the cancellation fee of $1.6 million, but that doesn't take into consideration, that's not all the $4.7 million. So what I'm looking for is, what is the target that was set for 23-24?
Oh, it was $1.5 million.
So this current fiscal year that we're in, the target is 1.5 million, and the target last year was 642, but the actual was 4.7. So
That's correct.
I'm struggling with that number as well.
Yeah. We had also tax federal credit that during the pandemic was basically paid off to us during the last fiscal year. It was about $2 million as well. So that added up to the 1.6. That's why we had such a high number. Also, on top of that, the TOT number actually has grown up than anticipated. All that added up to the $4.something million. For 23-24, we anticipating $1.5 million as gross operating profit, and none of this is coming on board, basically. No tax credit, no cancellation fee. So far, in 4 or 5 months, we have like maybe $90,000 in cancellation fee. So there's no way we're gonna get the $1.7 million or anything like that in 23-24.
Okay, those two numbers do help me understand the difference then, and how you got to 1.5 for this current fiscal year as a projection, as a target.
Right.
So I appreciate that, thank you.
Sure.
I did notice in the audit that your contract expires at the end of June. Are negotiations beginning on that, or do we put that out for an RFP?
Thank you, Councilmember Foley. Yes, the way that the contract is structured is that it has 5-year terms with the ability, with 2 options to renew if the terms do not change. Each party, should they want to make changes, they have to notify the other party 6 months in advance of the when the term ends. Otherwise, it will automatically renew. And I have heard discussions that they were going to be presented to the city, although I have not received anything in writing yet.
Okay, so that would have to happen this month in order to meet the 6-month
Yes.
window. Okay, good. Then I just had another question regarding the incentive, and it's more of a theoretical question. Should it be based on profitability and not meeting these other thresholds? Has the negotiations around the contract ever involved profitability? And by profitability, I mean zero income coming from the city of San Jose to offset any deficits like was done this year. Has that ever been a consideration? And if not, I would encourage us to consider that or take a look at that.
Thank you. We have a composite of indicators that we use. It's like a dashboard, and they're based on the business model between the city and Team San Jose. I will say that, you know, the source of funding for Team San Jose is a TOT, which does ebb and flow. But I will also share that there are parts of the business model that are not necessarily profitable because we provide them at a subsidy, and it's including the costs of the theaters because they are stewarding our city-owned theaters. Those are all city assets. So there are parts of the operations and maintenance that require funding from the city. But I'm going to pause there and see if Ben would like to elaborate.
Thank you. Yeah, so part of the theory behind the weighting of the scorecard, obviously the profitability on GOP is the highest weight at the 40%.
Right.
The way we structured it was because, you know, obviously we're utilizing the TOT and a portion of that TOT to underwrite any loss in terms of the actual real revenues in expenses. But as Carrie pointed out, for instance, the theaters operate at a loss almost going back to pre-COVID. And that's, you know, by design, so that our nonprofit arts groups have continued access. We're able to, you know, keep symphony, opera, and other arts groups vibrant and bring people into downtown. Likewise, with the convention center, sometimes the most profitable pieces of business from an actual revenue expenses term and our balance sheet don't necessarily generate hotel rooms, don't generate the economic impact. So the scorecard's an attempt to balance all those things together so that the facilities, while we're maintaining, you know, fiscal prudence, utilizing the TOT, and hopefully getting back to the point where it's growing to help with capital needs of the buildings, we're balancing that with the economic impact, vibrancy, and other things that we're providing to the community.
And I appreciate that and think that it's what Team San Jose is managing. The Convention and Visitors Bureau is really important to the vibrancy of the downtown core. It's really important that we have the hotel space and that we have businesses that are successful and that the conventions that are brought in fuel all of those things. So I have a question about one event that was held in Santa Clara over the weekend, hugely successful, called San Jose Made, ironically, but it was at the Santa Clara Convention Center, and I was there. The place was packed, thousands of people in attendance, and probably thousands of booths. Are we looking at ways to bring that scope of convention business, activity, retail business into the city of San Jose? I just hate to lose something called San Jose Made to the city of Santa Clara.
Yeah, no.
It's like losing the San Francisco 49ers to Santa Clara.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're constantly looking at how we balance the calendar between, you know, bringing in high hotel stays, high revenue for the facilities, but then also, you know, great community. We've hosted San Jose Made in the past. You know, we're always happy to host our local partners and organizations that we work closely with. So it's always a delicate balance of, you know, our VP of Sales likes to call it the mosaic. You have all the different colored tiles that we're utilizing to try to make up the picture of the calendar. And we're always looking at trying to how best to balance that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I know you give us an annual report that's not part of the audit in next year. We'll have it in the spring or April, May, something like that.
We'll be back.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Councilmember Batra.
Thank you, Chair. I got a couple of quick questions on. Is the incentive based on a graduated scale, that the number you exceed the target, how much you exceed, does it make a difference? If you exceed, you get the money, it's a binary thing?
Yeah, it's a binary incentive. If we score 100 or greater on the weighted scorecard, we get the 250 incentive. Less, we don't.
Okay. The conventions, the use of the convention center, is it all controlled by you or marketed by you, or is there something which comes on its own?
It is marketed and sold by us exclusively. We have the 2 contracts with the city, so the management and operations of the convention center. The Convention and Visitors Bureau, a huge part of that contract, and our budget goes to the marketing sales of the convention center.
Okay.
And we have a great professional team of, I think, 9, 10 people that are out nationally selling conventions for the city, and also selling directly smaller pieces of businesses and directly into hotels along with what happens in the convention center. And then also partnering with great partners like the Sharks and SAP Center, San Jose Sports Authority to bring larger events in as well.
So you have a pretty objective data of how much hotel rooms were sold as a result of bringing those conventions in town?
Correct. If any, and that's, when you look at the hotel room nights, I mean, those room nights correlate to the room sales from our sales team related to the convention business. If anything, it's undercounted because there's this, we only take credit for rooms that are booked within the block of the conventions, and there's sometimes significant number of people who, through loyalty programs or whatever, will book outside of the block. If they choose Airbnb and stay, you know, we're still collecting the TOT from Airbnb, but it's not counted towards those room numbers.
So you made a comment earlier that because of the loss of hotel capacity or rooms, there would be less revenue. Is that going to prevent you attracting certain kind of conventions because you're below room capacity?
It changes the business mix of what we can attract. You know, part of the piece that we look at, right, is what the square footage that we have in the convention center, how many people we can safely hold and service within our space operationally, but then also how many room nights can we get committed to a block, and it depends on the group. Certain groups, they only want rooms within a walking distance. Other groups, perhaps they're more amenable to having shuttle services to properties by the airport. When we have less committable rooms downtown, it changes the dynamic of the group. I mean, for us to get to 100,000 rooms, if we can only commit 1,000 on peak, as opposed to 1,400 on peak, that's the biggest night of the convention, you have to book more business to get to that 100,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Seeing no other hands, let's vote. Thank you very much, Team San Jose.
And that passes unanimously.
Moving on to the next audit report is the building permitting for residential addition or alterations audit report.
Good afternoon again, Joe Roy City Auditor. I'm here with Gitanjali Mandrakar, Michelle Malari, and Dilnoza Godoy-Berganova from my office to present our audit of residential building permits, additional resources, and further process enhancements can reduce wait times, improve service delivery. Also in the box are Lisa Joyner, Chris Burton, and Chu Chang from the Department of Planning, Building Code Enforcement, or PBCE. The City of San Jose requires building permits for new structures and changes to existing structures. The Building Division of the Planning Building Code Enforcement Department conducts plan reviews, issues building permits, and inspects projects for building code compliance. The slide shows a simplified outline of the permit process, which begins with intake, where a permit specialist in building reviews applications and plans for completeness. and depending on the scope of the project, plans may also need to go through technical plan review, where an engineer verifies that plans comply with building codes. Once plans are approved, building will issue a permit that authorizes construction, and during construction, building inspectors verify that construction is in accordance with the approved building plans. Building has multiple ongoing or new initiatives to improve and expedite the building permit process. For example, customers can seek out online permits through sjpermits.org, use the Rapid Online Service Intake Service, use over-the-counter service, and also the Residential Express Permit Service, which are all ways that qualifying projects can expedite the process. A new program, the Best Prepared Designer Program, was implemented recently and allows licensed or experienced professionals to bypass the standard review process by taking full responsibility for building code compliance. Again, this is for qualifying projects. The objective of this audit was to assess the timeliness of the building permit process for single-family residential additions or alterations, including accessory structures. The scope of our work included the building division's intake, plan review, and permit issuance processes. And though we interviewed staff from other development service partners, such as Public Works or the Fire Department, as well as inspection staff, the scope of our analysis and our recommendations are focused primarily on the work in building up to permit issuance for single-family residential additions and alterations. We had 4 findings. The first finding is that staffing and workload imbalances have impacted the timeliness of the building permit process. Customers applying for a building permit through the standard permit process work with staff from Building's Permit Center and Plan Review sections. We found that Building has seen significant vacancies in recent years, which has particularly been an issue in the Plan Review section, where vacancy rates have consistently been high. Because of this, Building has not been meeting its timeliness targets for submitting plan review comments to customers, and overall the process has become very lengthy. On average, accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, and other structural additions or alteration projects in fiscal year 22-23 took over 130 days to receive a permit. This has also resulted in the growth of a backlog of projects which peaked in December of 2022. Using consultants to augment existing staff, Building was able to reduce this backlog to roughly 130 in July of this past year. We also found that Building should reassess the balance of workload and staffing. Even if all vacant positions were filled, we noted that Building may not have had sufficient staff to manage all incoming projects timely. Also, assumptions within the fee model have not been reassessed since 2016, and reserves and some fee-related activities are currently not accounted for in the model. To better align resources with workload and address ongoing staffing challenges, we recommend that PBC develop a staffing strategy including expanding recruitment efforts, prioritizing hiring entry-level positions, and considering the use of consultants and other staff for plan review, as well as reassess its current fee model assumptions to account for all staff hours and the use of reserves. Our second finding is that clarifying plan review assignment and resubmittal responsibilities can improve customer satisfaction. Projects requiring plan review have experienced long delays. Oftentimes, projects were not assigned to a plan reviewer for multiple weeks, and the first round of comments from plan reviewers were provided well past expected timeframes. We found that the plan review stage is the longest stage within the permitting process. In an auditor-conducted survey of building customers, more than half rated timeliness of the process negatively, and overall nearly half of the surveyed customers ranked their overall experience in plan review as poor or very poor. Because of vacancies, most residential projects in recent months have been reviewed by consultants. However, projects were not assigned to consultants until after the project's review targets had already passed. We also found that while most projects require multiple rounds of review cycles during the plan review process, staff do not consistently meet with customers to minimize the number of resubmittals. There is an informal policy to meet with customers after 2 review cycles, but this hasn't been occurring consistently. We also found that Building can clarify plan review assignments for inspectors for over-the-counter projects and improve how it manages work with its consultants. To clarify responsibilities in the plan review process, we have multiple recommendations to address the concerns that we identified in this finding. Our third finding is that opportunities exist to improve permit center processes and coordination among work groups. Customers face lengthy delays prior to even starting the permit process. This is because initial intake appointments can take weeks or more to schedule, and coordination among development partners and with customers create challenges that can affect the customer experience. We found that in September 2023, it took up to 47 days for customers to get an intake appointment, which is actually an improvement from earlier in the year when appointments could take up to 3 months. At the time of the audit, appointments defaulted to at least 1 hour. However, staff report they do not generally take that full time. In addition, between January and May of this past year, 2023, we know that customers failed to show for roughly 1 in 7 appointments, and according to staff, customers sometimes did not always submit all required documents prior to the appointment as required or as requested. Building is implementing SJE plans, a work management software that is expected to improve coordination and communication among staff and customers. And according to PBCE, SJE plans also may eliminate the need for appointments moving forward. We have multiple recommendations as finding to improve permit center processes and enhance coordination between customers and city staff. Our last finding is that building can enhance its communications with customers. Building's primary source of communication to the community for building permit information is its website. The online permits and development center pages were the most frequently visited sites on PBC's website. We found that permit customers have expressed dissatisfaction with the city's website, and staff have noted customers frequently contact permit center staff for help navigation. Many building phone tree options are also directed to voicemail, and however, customers are not given information on when they may receive a response, nor is building tracking how quickly staff respond. Lastly, the sjpermits.org site and the division's phone lines do not have translation options, and most files posted on PBC's website are only in English. We have a series of recommendations to address these concerns to enhance communications with its customers. The report overall has 15 recommendations to improve timeliness and enhance service delivery in the building permit process. We'd like to thank Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, as well as the City Manager's Budget Office, the Attorney's Office, Fire, Public Works, and the Information Technology Department for their time and insight during the process. Administration has reviewed the report, and the response is shown in the yellow pages of the printed report. I ask that you accept the report and cross-reference December 12th meeting of the full City Council. I'll now turn it over to PPCE for the administration's response, and of course, we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Lisa Joyner, Deputy Director of the Building Division. We would like to thank the Auditor's Office for their collaboration and partnership during this audit. We agree with the recommendations, several of which are in line with our current streamlining efforts. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and there's a lot to unpack in this audit and how we can streamline and move forward and be more responsive to our the community who's asking us to approve the work that they're being done so that they get permits and do it with, instead of avoiding the process and getting it done without, the work done without permits. Do we have any members of the public who'd like to speak?
We have one hand raised. Paul Soto.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Forgive my speech. I suffer from Bell's palsy due to the stress related to homelessness and malnutrition and stress. So forgive my speech. What I'd like to know is how these properties are being taxed. You see, because that is not outlined in any of these audits, how the properties are being taxed. And there's a reason for that, is because basically what we're doing as a society is we're increasing staff capacity and staff workloads to make rich richer. The people that own these properties, their property values are significantly enhanced. And I would hate to think that we are permitting and allowing any Prop 13 protections for those properties. Now, I want to know, are these properties being taxed separately and outside of the scope of Prop 13? Or are you including it? It needs to be explicit. Are you including that on that property, but yet that property has nothing to do with the Prop 13 protections? That's number one. Number two, do you have a tax metric for these properties? Because like I said, they are significantly enhancing the property values. So I would like those properties taxed commensurate with that value that they are enhancing of that particular space. Those are my questions, those are my issues, and I hope somebody has the nerve and the political courage to start challenging these.
Back to the committee.
Councilmember Batra.
Thank you for that report. Ever since I came on the council, every time I held a meeting with the constituents, one of the common complaints or one of the favorite department of there to complain about was the PBCE. And I worked with the PBCE often to talk about what could be streamlined. And I want to congratulate PBCE for coming up with the Best Designer program, which gives a license in 3 to 5 days, and hence the building activity can really become an economic activity quicker and also increase the satisfaction of the people here. Now, I got a couple of questions for you, Joe. Joe, every one of your audit reports I've seen is always futuristic in nature. It talks about how to make the improvements, and they're generally far-reaching. In this case, while your audit was going on or during, some very important, significant changes have been made in the PBC, especially the Best Designer program is going to eliminate reviews on a lot percentage of the activity, and hence the time saved from there is going to help on the other larger projects. So is there anything in your report which is really not any more relevant to this, the audit report you're giving, because of the major changes having been made to this, how the operation is conducted? Because I think my understanding is that we have not done business like this at least for 30, 40 years, okay, the way we are going to be doing.
So thank you for the question. So kind of think about the different findings. The first finding is broadly about getting the staffing levels right for the building division and getting the fees correctly set so that the resources are available. That's looking at building across their different sorts of projects, not just what would be considered part of the qualified for the Best Designer program. The recommendations are broadly at getting the strategy in place, the assumptions correct within the fee model. Now the demand portion, the demand for plan review hours, is going to be affected by that, and that's going to have to be factored into those assumptions. So it wouldn't change those recommendations, because you still need to get that. You know, there's still going to need a need for plan review, associate engineers, engineer 1s and 2s. You're still going to need to figure out how to meet the demand that's going to be coming in, whether it's commercial, whether it's new construction, or what have you. The second and third findings are more internal process pieces. Getting the project assigned timely is still going to be important, because not every project is going to qualify for the Best Prepared Designer program. Making sure the permit center processes are in line so people are clear about what their expectations are and how whether reaching out at permit issuance, what have you. And then the last findings about communication, so updating the website, making sure that information is available to all users of the information. Again, that's all still relevant. So I always try to describe that every audit we do is in a dynamic environment, and so we're always looking at what is changing, what is occurring, and we're not going to have a recommendation that would be basically moot by the time we issue it. So all of the recommendations we have in the report are still relevant. To the extent the Best Prepared Designer program affects the demand for plan review hours, it's going to have to be built into those fee models and that staffing strategy moving forward. I don't know if Chris or Lisa has anything they want to add to that. No? Okay. Sorry, Chris, put you on the spot there.
So the second question or the second set of recommendations relate to the hiring or staffing. Again, my impression is before the report came out, some significant changes have been made and also some gains have been made in terms of reaching their staffing, their vacancy levels and all that with the dashboard which they've created shows some significant improvements going forward. Is that again with or they have already implemented what you're suggesting, or they just happen to coincidentally match with your recommendation?
It's a good question. I think both things were moving in parallel. I think the first recommendation about a staffing strategy is really about really being intentional in how we're going to be using different staff for the demand for plan review moving forward. Excuse me, as well as again really focusing on some of the pipeline hiring, engineer 1s and 2s, building that relationship with San Jose State, something that they were starting on and they were working on. But moving forward, just being much more intentional in how we do that. It's what we were seeing in some of the other jurisdictions. It's looking back, trying to hire at the associate engineer position is really hard, not just in San Jose. It's something we were seeing across jurisdictions. So really trying to build that pipeline. It's something that they're looking at, and the work in that area was kind of parallel to our work and our recommendations, and we'll be following up in 6 months to see where they are and how they're doing.
Right. So when this report comes to the council, this will be coming to the council, right? I would appreciate if there are some comments made about the impact of the changes which they have already implemented, because I think they are not normal course. They are pretty significant, and I think they should be having some visibility to that effect so that, even though we'll be approving the report and accepting the report, but it would be helpful for people to have some optimistic view of what the changes they have made and how it is going to likely to impact us, some idea of that. So that's what I would request to be there, included in the report.
I have just a clarification. Who is that directed to? Because our report is complete.
Let me help you out a little bit. I think that would come from Chris's department and not from the auditor. So, Chris, you should be prepared to answer that question if it comes up on the 12th.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We'd be happy to answer that in more detail.
Chris would be happy to do it. Okay, with that, I'll move to accept the report.
Second. Will you please include a cross-reference to the council December 12th?
Cross-reference to 12.
Was that included? Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the auditor for your very thorough and effective report, and also want to thank our staff in the PBCE for your continued pursuit of excellence and your commitment to streamlining some of these processes, which I know can be frustrating to some of our constituents. On page 27, the audit mentions one recommendation is to continue and potentially prioritize recruitment for entry-level positions, such as engineer step 1 or step 2, and work with local universities to create short-term career programs such as internships. So first question is, do we currently have internships within the PBCE department?
Thank you, Councilmember. We have used internships in a number of different ways. As you'll recall, in the last budget, there was actually money assigned to PBCE to start a fellowship actually in the planning program. That intern, if I understood this correctly from my update earlier, will start tomorrow, coming from San Jose State, from their land use program. So we have used it in a sort of sporadic way in the past. We're looking to develop now a more systematic approach to internships within the department so we can create more of a sort of focused and intentional pipeline for future workforce.
That's exactly, you must have been reading my mind, Chris, because that's exactly where I was going to go. Just wanted to make sure that we weren't pigeonholing us in short-term career programs, to quote the language that was here, but hoping that we see these internships as on-ramps to careers within the department. Have we, if you don't have this information in front of you, that's fine. Have we hired any of our interns or fellows?
Yeah, I don't have that information on hand. I think that's a really good question. We can follow up.
Yeah, maybe that's something we could see as something we keep track of in the future.
Actually, Councilmember, there is one I can think of that recently we did hire, who came on as an intern and is now a part of the department more formally.
That's great.
Yep.
I think that should be like a standard, hopefully, for that process. Then on page 49, there's another topic. We mentioned that currently the department is working on language access, which is a very important thing for many of our constituents. However, while the recommendation to have translation service for the website and phone lines was yellow lit, requiring a budget request, and I understand that there's always financial limitations. Is there anything that the department is doing now to assist communities who, you know, have English as a second language or need translation services?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. So language access continues to be a cornerstone of our racial equity action plan within the department. And there are a number of different services and processes within the department we use to provide access to information, certainly when they're speaking to, you know, live staff members within the department or accessing information from the website. That being said, we still have work to do. I think there's still a long ways to go. Through the prior budget, we'd had a position added, one-time funding for a racial equity position within the department. Through this last budget cycle, we've actually translated that position into an ongoing position within the department with a specific focus around language access. And so as you've seen through some of our more recent projects like the Five Wounds project, there's a much more intentional approach to how we're thinking about language and the way that people understand information that we put out there. I think as we get to the more transactional end of our business with permits, it's even more critical that people understand that and that we provide that in a seamless way that doesn't sort of seem clunky or you need to go in lots of different places. It's just there, it's apparent and easy for people to use.
That's great. Is there, other than this budget ask, which I'll be sure to support, do we have any other plans or like goals for the office to make sure that it's accessible to the immigrant community?
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate question.
We could come back if I don't want to grill you. Yeah, it's just in my district, it's hard enough to get our residents to come to the city for these processes. I bet, you know, not sounding the alarms, but if you went to some of our properties, there'd be a lot of units built that I'm sure aren't on city records. So I think the more we could take some of this stuff out of the darkness and have these discussions in the light, I think that would be good. And then finally, one final question. I know that's something we're struggling with, and I think it goes down to, you know, the hiring, and I know you guys have are putting together a plan to address the vacancies. Are we taking into consideration customer response times as a contribution to the overall permit turnaround times?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the implementation of the department's customer service charter, which is our online portal that gives you in-depth information around operational performance within the departments, all the dashboards that we talk about. The focus was always about how do we address and represent customer outcomes in different ways so that we as a department could take action to improve that outcome. So wait times, any delay in process is accounted for sort of as we think about that process within the customer service charter. I think a really good example of one of the changes that's highlighted in the report that's currently underway, we're right now implementing SJE plans, which is the online self-start portal, where now people will go and rather than having to wait up to 90 days just to get an appointment, just to submit a building permit, They now go online whenever they want, whether it's the middle of the night, middle of the day, and they start that process themselves. So that's 90 days worth of process that we've eliminated, and it's not even process, it's 90 days worth of delay that we're eliminating by allowing people to sort of take action on their own, and then we're using that to create efficiency and streamlining in the background that will overall improve that process.
Okay, no, that makes up, and just to confirm, that website portal, is that translated into different languages?
So the department's website has sort of access to translation through it.
Okay.
It's not presented. And again, I think this is sort of part of that consideration of how we think more broadly around language access and make it more accessible to more people.
Yeah, because we do have individuals who speak solely Spanish or solely Vietnamese, and whether, it's their city too. So I just want to make sure that they have access to different services and departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Torres.
Great. No, thank you once again for that presentation. Very, very important, because Councilmember Batra is correct. When we are at community meetings or when we have these community cafecitos, one of the complaints that we always get is, unfortunately, how slow things work within our PBCE department. So, and I know there's internal factors, there's external factors, right? But I know that everyone's trying to do their best. So, I do have a quick question. In the report, when we say using consultants to augment existing staff, what does that mean? Am I reading it literally, or we hire consultants when our staff can't do the work?
So I'll start. So earlier this year, PVC contracted with a series of vendors to provide a range of services for peak periods. Over this past year, because of the vacancies, they've been using the consultants to augment the city staff, primarily on the residential side, on the plan review piece of it. Again, going back to our recommendation around the staffing strategy is being more intentional and be clear about what are the roles of the peak staffers, what are the role of the inspectors who are doing some of the plan review on the over-the-counter. Again, just being more intentional moving forward about how we're staffing to get the work done, whether it's through the new people coming in as engineer 1 and 2, associate engineers, inspectors, contract staff. Moving forward, just what does that look like moving forward? We were in a situation where, because of vacancies, the backlog grew quite a bit, and the timelines got pretty long. So how do we address that moving forward in our recommendation?
Okay, thank you for that, Joe. And I think the follow will be to PBCE then. Why don't we use rehires instead of consultants for this work? Or retirees, however they're classified.
Thank you. So we've had a few people retire in this past year, and they've wanted to enjoy their retirement and not come back to work. That's been a challenge. Some of our other retirees have joined peak staffing agencies, and so we're actually utilizing them through those peak staffing agencies.
Yeah, Councilmember, I'd add, we regularly do use retiree rehires as part of a staffing solution where we're having trouble filling vacancies within the department across all 3 divisions. So it's something that we always explore, as Lisa said. It's really driven by availability and people's interest in coming back to do so. What I'll add on the peak staffing piece is that the reason peak staffing was initiated was actually about 10 years ago, and because PBC is largely a fee-funded department, if demand for our services expands quickly with economic growth, or there's a lot of new building going on, we can't shift to grow at that rate because of the way the budget process works, because of the way that funding comes in. And so peak staffing contracts were established to allow us to flex our staffing capacity during peak times. What's happened through this last period, so we just, at the end of last year, approved new contracts that would allow us to expand the capacity, is within our plan review group, we've been sitting anywhere up to about 35% vacancy in that group. So instead of using peak staffing to expand beyond our existing capacity, we're backfilling it because otherwise we were putting a tremendous amount of pressure on those existing employees to meet the demand that was coming from private industry at the time.
No, great, and I totally understand where we're all coming from, but again, when we hear consultant, but then for someone like me who used to organize I was a steward for local, I already forgot the local that I used to organize. 101? Thank you, yes, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Councilmember Ortiz. When I worked for the city, I was part of my union, right? So Local 101. And so, remember, I was right smack in the middle during pension reform, and so when I hear consultants or when I hear that we're giving work to someone not a city employee, my brain just goes off saying, contract it out, which is, to me, I would never want to do, right? But I get it, because again, at these community cafecitos, at these meetings, are all these emails that we get regarding the slow process of PBCE. And by the way, I know the process because, again, with our valley being a valley where folks can move up the economic ladder, right? A lot of my friends who are monolingual Spanish speakers, or their families are Vietnamese or Filipino, right? They always call me and say, hey, your website for PBCE for just adding a room or getting the permit to get a new roof, it is really complicated, Omar. And of course, I have to tell them, yes, it is, and obviously the audit, this audit says that it is, right? Especially since Councilmember Ortiz did mention that it's only one language, right? And so I'm glad that this audit's happening, right? Again, and I know how important it is to make sure that our permits are going through the pipeline, right? And so that's extremely important. But of course, when this union organizer hears, we're contracting out, then the alarm bells starts to sound off, right? But I absolutely get it, and I know that you're all trying your best. I'm really happy and hopeful that we're able to get more San Jose State students to work for the city of San Jose, right? We've always, and we continue to say that there should be a pipeline where everybody just slides into whatever position they have, whether it's a fellowship or an internship at San Jose State or Santa Clara U. No one's perfect, but still, you get it. We want our local community to get these jobs, so we're not utilizing consultants. So great, thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for your report, and thank you, Chris, for your response to the report too, because hiring really is the key here. And the reason we contract part of it out is because our employees are already working to the maximum capacity, and we have so many vacancies. So the more we hire, the less we'll have to do that, which I think is really important as well. The vacancies, or eliminating the vacancies and improving the efficiencies will really streamline the activity for the homeowner, whether they're putting in a new bathroom, replacing an old bathroom, putting in a new kitchen, or adding an addition for a growing family. The longer it takes, the frustrations continue, and we do hear from those property owners about how long it is taking. So overcoming the vacancies, which I know is difficult, but if we are strategic about it, and I love the direct pipeline from San Jose State, what a great idea. And creating efficiencies will streamline the process and save staff time over the long run and make them able to handle more inspections and more intakes a lot more quickly. And the net result is will reduce the frustrations of the property owner, but also increase the revenue to the city, because it's supposed to be revenue neutral, right? It's supposed to bring in money for us. But it's not if our system is broken, and it it is, but I know we're working to fix it. The question I have, and most of my questions had been answered, is really relate to communications and the timelines. The question, we do get a lot of questions as council member from our constituents about being told one timeline, but oh, you're going to hear from us in 10 days, but here it is 90 days and we still haven't heard anything. So can you tell us what the expectation is that we're telling, and well, let me word it a different way. How can we improve the communication piece with the homeowners so that we are setting realistic expectations for them?
Thank you, Chair Foley. So, so we agree. Communication and transparency is incredibly difficult. What we do is complex. No two projects are the same. There's always, different factors, different sites, different consultants, different contractors. All these different things, contribute to some of the sort of mystery around the process and some of the complexity that can cause delay and frustration for residents and folks trying to get a permit. We've taken sort of a couple of important first steps in this direction. Obviously, we talk about our customer service charter a lot. It's intended to give people that insight as to sort of how the city is operating. So we give people standard processing timelines. We have those published on the websites. We regularly miss those deadlines. I'll just be honest with you, right? Those are the sort of in optimal conditions we would make these deadlines on a regular basis. We can't always give people direct information for their specific projects to say it will take this long. So what we're trying to do is give them insight into sort of what the general delays are or how far we are behind in operating. So that was the first step we've taken. I think the second piece, it's not just our communication, there's a broader subset of communication because there's often multiple parties involved through the permit process. There's a homeowner, there's a contractor, there may be a designer as well. There may be other sort of parties involved with that. And sometimes that communication gets lost within the process. So our recent deployment around SJE plans will give an additional layer of transparency to applicants in the process. They'll be able to see, where they exactly are, where the comments are, when they will see them come back. Not necessarily when they'll see them come back, but whose side they're sitting, which has been an issue. And I know many of you have called me and said, what's going on with this project? And my response is, let me look. And we go look, and it's like, well, actually, we sent comments 3 weeks ago. It's with a designer, or it's with somebody else. So giving people much more transparency into kind of where it is within the process as well will help. I think there's more to go, though. There's more sort of ground that we can cover in this space. I don't know that we can be entirely predictable all the time. Again, some of that is just we don't control how many projects get submitted on a single day. We just have to respond to that, and we're always going to have to sort of balance that demand with the available resources that we have on hand. But I would like to be at least a little bit more transparent and predictable so that people know that as they come to work with us, that we are going to sort of be responsive, be professional in our approach, and deliver the kind of service that they expect.
Thank you, but your statement that the website has timelines that we always miss indicates to me that the timelines aren't realistic, and what I would suggest is that you look at redoing the timelines on the website to overestimate the amount of time. Then when you come in below that, we're heroes. Instead of people being really frustrated with us. So if we adjust the timelines, instead of saying, oh yeah, it's going to be 10 days, knowing it's never 10 days, that we will, it's more transparency, to use your term, it's more accurate, and it creates less frustration. And to be fair, in the timelines and missing the timelines, it's not just that we may be delayed because of staffing issues or efficiencies or whatever. It may be on the part of the homeowner. So if we let the homeowner know, look, these are the the timelines are as good as everybody is moving forward. But if there's a delay on your side or on your architect's side or designer's side, then it's going to delay the project, or supply side. There are things that will delay the project that may not be the city's in the city's purview. It may be in the homeowner or the contractor's purview to influence the timeline. So just if we're clear with that. So I guess I'll leave it with that. I do appreciate this report because, you know, we get a lot of questions about this process. And the way the report is written, it actually walks us through the process in a very detailed way, and then we can understand, okay, these are the pain points. These are the pain points for our staff too, I'm sure, Chris. These are things that everyone wants to resolve, because when people complain, we're not happy because we're the recipients of it, and we just want to solve the problem for them and make it easier for them. I will finish up by just responding to the question about taxation. Some of these things are reassessed, but many of them are not reassessed. If you're adding square footage, it typically will be reassessed. Many of the other things will not be reassessed by the county tax assessor. I'll just leave it with that, and I see no other hands, so let's vote.
And that passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Thank you for those reports. We'll see you on the 12th. And that concludes our regular meeting. Now we move to open forum. Members of the public are invited to speak on any item that does not appear on today's agenda and that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of this committee. Do we have any members of the public who'd like to speak?
We have one hand raised, Paul Soto.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I'd like to remind this council that cultural genocide occurred inside San Jose Unified School District. Now, when it comes to language, we're 60, 80 years into the future, and the city is still coming back with sorry excuses as to why they cannot conform and take heed to what it is that they did to the Mexican community in terms of beating the kids for speaking Spanish, that they still cannot come to terms with what it is. Yeah, sure. That's necessary in order to facilitate access, city access.
And then I have a bag.
Okay. So that's number one. Number two is that the city violated, thank you, a most basic fundamental right of a citizen, and that's to freedom. Now, I was arrested, placed in jail for 5 days. 5 days of my freedom was stripped from me because of this city. This disgusting San Jose government is coming after me, and they're using the San Jose Police Department to put hands on me, arrest me, take me into jail, and the district attorney filed no charges because I committed no crime, because they're saying that I violated the restraining order. There's 200 East Santa Clara Street is that I am barred from. No other address. No other address exists. That's why it was a violation. It was an illegal arrest. Now, why is this council so comfortable with a citizen?
Back to the committee.
Thank you. We stand adjourned. There is no meeting in December, so happy holidays.